Draymond Green. Draymond Green. We all know a guy like Draymond Green. When I was in high school and college, we used to call guys like this that guy. That guy who thinks that he is a much bigger deal than he really is. One thing you can't deny about Draymond Green, you can't deny the dude's confidence. He carries himself like a superstar, even though in reality, he's just a role player. If Draymond Green had been drafted by the Detroit Pistons instead of the Golden State Warriors, the casual NBA fan would have no idea who the hell he is. I hope he thanks Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on a daily basis, because if it wasn't for those two guys, Draymond Green would be a nobody. He wouldn't have the platform that he has today. When he says things like he said last night in his post-game press conference, no one would care. But the truth is, Draymond Green does have a voice. When he speaks, people tend to listen. Doesn't matter how he got that platform or how he got his voice. All that matters is that he has it. He went off on a tangent last night, an unprovoked tangent at that. He was asked a question about his relationship with Steph Curry and how it's developed over the years. And he spent about 30 seconds answering that question. Then he spent the next 3 minutes blasting the NBA and how they mistreat their players. Now, before I get into some of his quotes, let's just start with that first point, the mistreatment of players by the NBA. Players in the NBA are more pampered than any other sports league in this country. How many times have we heard a player in the NFL miss a game because of load management? When an NBA player signs his contract, every single penny on that deal is guaranteed. If Draymond Green goes from averaging 12-6 to 4-2, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. He's still going to receive every dollar on his contract. It's not like that in the NFL. That's why you hear people talk all the time the importance of guaranteed money in NFL contracts. Patrick Mahomes, he can sign a deal for $500 million, but if only $100 million of that is guaranteed, that's all that he can expect to receive. Because the second that his production starts to decline, teams in the NFL can cut you with no financial penalty as long as the guaranteed money on the contract's been paid out. It's not like that in the NBA. You sign a player for 5 years on a bad contract, you are stuck with him unless you can find another team dumb enough to take on his contract. So I don't want to hear this bitching from Draymond Green about how NBA players are being mistreated, because that's a damn lie. Now let's get to some of the other jewels that Draymond Green graced us with last night. What prompted all of this was a report that came out that the Cavaliers are looking to trade Andre Drummond, which, it makes perfect sense. He's a veteran on a young team that's going nowhere. This situation happens every year in the NBA. But Draymond Green has a big problem with this. Here's what he said. Quote, "I would like to talk about something that's really bothering me, and it's the treatment of players in the league. To watch Andre Drummond before the game sit on the sidelines, then go to the back, and to come out in street clothes because a team is going to trade him, it's BS," end quote. This is actually a smart move by the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you're going to trade someone, why in the hell would you trot him out there to risk injury? If you're the player, would you really be motivated to play? The team is shopping you. Are you really going to be motivated to go out there and win? From a player's perspective, I would think that you would prefer to sit out. At this stage of Andre Drummond's career, I imagine that he wants to play or be traded to a contender. So why in the hell would you want to risk injury playing in a meaningless game with a team that hasn't won a game in over 2 weeks? This is standard operating procedure in the NBA. This isn't mistreatment of Andre Drummond. This is protecting an asset. Draymond Green continued on, gets even better. Quote, "Because when James Harden asked for a trade, and essentially dogged it. No one's going to fight back that James was dogging it in his last days in Houston. But he was castrated for wanting to go to a different team. Everybody destroyed that man. And yet a team can come out and say, oh, we want to trade a guy. And then that guy has to go sit. And if he doesn't stay professional, then he's a cancer. And he's not good in someone's locker room. And he's the issue. End quote. I'm so glad that Draymond Green brought up James Harden here, because it is a perfect example of how NBA players are pampered, not mistreated. It's also a prime example of a major problem in the NBA, and that's the fact that contracts are meaningless. James Harden signed a 4-year extension with the Rockets. He honored just 1 year of that contract. With 3 years left on his deal, he forced his way out of Houston. He got exactly what he wanted. He was traded to the Brooklyn Nets. So Draymond Green, you tell me how that qualifies as mistreatment of James Harden. If anyone was mistreated in that whole situation, it was the Houston Rockets. They were committed to James Harden. They did everything in their power to keep him happy. You want Dwight Howard? Okay, we'll go get him. Oh, you can't get along with Dwight Howard. You want Chris Paul now? Okay, we'll go get him. Oh, you can't get along with Chris Paul. You want your friend Russell Westbrook? Okay, we'll go get him, and we'll even agree to overpay him. Then when everything falls apart, because James Harden can't get along with anybody, he wants to get the hell out of town so he can chase a title before his career ends. Oh, I mean, he was really mistreated. Really mistreated. Tell me any other job in the country where something like this could happen. It only happens in the NBA. The audacity of Draymond Green is just unbelievable to me. NBA players are mistreated? James Harden deserved to get called out by the media. The way he went about leaving Houston was unacceptable. It was unprofessional. He was a cancer in that locker room. That was the truth. Franchises in the NBA have very little power when it comes to these superstar players. The power relies solely with the players. If Steph Curry went to management tomorrow and demanded a trade, the Warriors would have no recourse. It doesn't matter how many years are left on his contract. If he were to go public with his trade demand, the only option the Warriors would have would be to trade him. That's it. So don't give me this garbage that NBA players are mistreated. NFL players would kill for the type of power that players have in the NBA. Look, now Draymond Green wasn't all wrong here. He was right about one thing. There is a double standard. If a player demands a trade in the NBA, he is vilified by the fans and the media. But if a team decides to trade a player, it's deemed to be acceptable, in most cases anyway. However, it's not like teams don't get called out too. I mean, Knicks owner James Dolan has been consistently called out for over 20 years. Fans in the media in New Orleans used to blast Dell Demps on a regular basis for some of the ridiculous decisions that he made. So this 3-minute tirade, it's just another example of Draymond Green sticking his foot in his mouth. Look, there's already a problem in the NBA with fans thinking that players aren't relatable. There's already a perception that the NBA players of this generation are soft. This little soliloquy from Draymond Green just proves both of those points. But this final point was the real gem. I mean, I couldn't even believe he said this. Quote, "At some point as players, we need to be treated with the same respect and have the same rights that the teams can have," end quote. This is actually a great point by Draymond Green. Going forward, if a team wants to breach the contract with a certain player, they should be allowed to break that contract, right? Since you want the players and the team to have the same rights and respect. If in the middle of a contract, a player isn't performing to the team's expectations, the team should be able to get out of that contract. Because that's exactly what James Harden did. That's what Anthony Davis did in New Orleans a couple of years ago. Pelicans weren't performing to his expectation of winning, so he wanted out, which technically was breaking his contract. Now, we all know that's not how it works in the NBA. Once a team signs a contract with a player, the team is locked in for the length of the deal. And the player at any point can decide that he wants out, and he will find a way out. Bottom line is, Draymond Green is 100% wrong. If players in the NBA had any more power, they would be signing the damn checks. I mean, damn. You can't get much more power than players in the NBA have right now. And Draymond Green has the audacity to ask for more power? It's absolutely ridiculous. He went on to complain that players are told what they can and can't say, that they get fined for making comments sometimes. Well, yeah, it's called a job, Draymond Green. Welcome to the real world. The guy signing the checks makes the rules. That's how it works. Of course, the NBA fined you for saying last summer that Devin Booker should leave Phoenix. It's called tampering. You can't do that. Of course, there are rules for what you can say publicly. Have we already forgotten what happened last summer when LeBron James and Giannis damn near killed the NBA with their woke politics? That's why they have rules for what you can say publicly. I don't know. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong here. What do you guys think? Do you agree with Draymond Green that NBA players are mistreated by the league? Or do you agree with me that NBA players have too much power already? Do you think NBA players are pampered? Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys next time.